Stop right there. Put the shovel down. Every single time you yank a dandelion from the ground, you're not destroying it, you're multiplying it instead. Research from Cornell University revealed that leaving behind only 1 inch of root in the soil is enough for an entirely new plant to return. 1 root turns into 10. What looks like victory is actually the beginning of a larger invasion. Today, I'm going to reveal the $0 technique my grandmother relied on for decades to wipe weeds out permanently. No chemicals. Completely harmless for children, safe around dogs, and friendly to bees. And here's the truth most gardeners never realize. Pulling weeds by hand often damages your garden more than helping it. In this guide, you will discover 3 fully organic solutions designed for 3 separate areas: your lawn, your planting beds, and your patio. Every method is chemical-free. Every method is safe for kids, pets, and pollinators. And for each one, I will tell you the exact safety window so you know precisely when the area is safe to use again. By the second growing season, even the toughest weeds begin to surrender. Everything changed for me because of my grandmother. Her garden became so resilient that even bindweed eventually stopped returning. She achieved it using materials most people throw into the trash. Science needed 70 years before researchers finally understood why her system worked so well. Here is what we are covering. First, why both pulling and spraying weeds usually fail, plus the one free mowing adjustment that prevents weed seeds from germinating across your lawn. Second, the cardboard smothering technique that forces even bindweed to give up by season 2. This was my grandmother's favorite strategy, and it is the same principle Charles Dowding has demonstrated through more than 40 years of no-dig cultivation. Third, the long-term patio solution, boiling water combined with a single bag of polymer sand. Seal the cracks permanently so weeds almost never return. No toxic chemicals. No endless backbreaking labor. Nothing unnecessary. And before this ends, I will break down the full cost comparison because the easiest gardening method also happens to be the cheapest one. Let us begin with the lawn. Most homeowners treat grass like a battlefield. Rip out the dandelions, spray the clover, repeat again every weekend. But this cycle keeps failing for a reason. A dandelion taproot can extend 6.5 feet beneath the surface. Think of an iceberg floating in dark water. What you see above ground is only a tiny fraction of the real structure hidden underneath. That depth is farther than almost any garden fork can reach. Worse still, a leftover root fragment only 1 inch long can regenerate an entirely new plant. Each time you pull, you're not truly removing the weed. You're pruning it, and pruning stimulates fresh growth. 1 dandelion alone can release between 15,000 and 20,000 seeds during a single season. Read that again carefully. 20,000 seeds. The moment you disturb the soil while pulling weeds, dormant seeds buried underground receive light exposure. Many of them have been waiting silently for years. Once exposed, they activate and begin germinating. The harder you fight, the more seeds you wake up. You're not cleaning the garden, you're reseeding it. And what about vinegar spray, the internet's favorite miracle cure? Here is the problem. Acetic acid only scorches the leaves. The roots survive untouched. Researchers at University of California, Davis discovered that weeds commonly regrow within just 2 weeks after treatment. The plant never truly dies. You're simply spending money to burn foliage temporarily. So here is the lazy gardener's lawn solution. It costs absolutely nothing. Grab a pen. Write this down. Raise your mower blade to 4 inches. Not 3, 4. Studies analyzed by Penn State University, Purdue University, and University of Missouri examined more than 10 separate reports dating back to 1958. At a height of 4 inches, the grass canopy shades the soil beneath it. Weed seeds require red light in the 600 to 700 nanometer range to activate the hormones responsible for germination. When the soil stays shaded, that light signal never arrives. No signal means no sprouting. One experiment involving mulched maple and oak leaves spread into Kentucky bluegrass reduced dandelion growth by 84% in only a single season. Leaving grass clippings on the lawn instead of bagging them also returns the equivalent of 2 pounds of nitrogen fertilizer per 1,000 square feet back into the soil every year without costing a cent. And this approach is immediately safe for your family. The second mowing ends, children and dogs can run outside again without any waiting period, residue, or chemical exposure. Raise the mower to 4 inches. Leave the clippings where they fall. Let the grass wage the war for you. Now let us move to garden beds, where mowers cannot help. Planting beds require a completely different strategy. Here, the answer is not mowing, it is smothering. This was the exact method my grandmother trusted for more than 40 years. Back in Connecticut during the 1950s, Ruth Stout demonstrated the same principle. Her system was astonishingly simple. Cover every bed with thick layers of spoiled hay, no digging, no pulling, no tilling. That alone transformed the garden. Here is why it works. Weed seeds depend on red light between 600 and 700 nanometers to trigger the hormonal chain that begins germination. Cardboard and mulch block that light completely. The seeds remain buried underground. The signal never activates. Germination never begins. Imagine placing a heavy blanket over the earth. Nothing underneath wakes up because no light penetrates the surface. And another important fact, cardboard does not suffocate the soil. It is made from cellulose, which still allows oxygen and water to pass through. Earthworms survive underneath it. Beneficial fungi continue thriving. The entire soil microbiome remains healthy. Only one thing is blocked: light. Here's the process. Collect discarded cardboard from grocery stores or hardware shops. Remove every staple and strip of tape. Lay the cardboard directly on top of the weeds, overlapping the edges by at least 6 inches so nothing slips through openings. Then, spread 4 to 6 inches of hardwood mulch or wood chips above the cardboard. One warning before buying mulch: avoid cocoa mulch if dogs are nearby. It contains theobromine, which is toxic for them. Hardwood mulch, cedar, and composted leaves are all safer choices. Every one of them works effectively while remaining safe for children and pets. For more than 40 years, Charles Dowding has operated a no-dig market garden called Homemakers in Somerset, England. Across approximately 1,300 square meters, he spends only around 10 hours each week on total weed management. His no-dig beds consistently outperform traditionally dug gardens by 5 to 15% after 3 years. And yes, even bindweed can eventually lose. Dowding's method is brutally simple. Every time a new bindweed shoot appears, cut it directly at soil level. Repeat weekly. The root system burns through its carbohydrate reserves trying to regrow over and over again. By the second or third season, the plant is usually exhausted beyond recovery. You do not overpower it, you starve it. But before you begin smothering every weed in sight, remember this: keep a small cluster of dandelions available for early spring pollinators. Allow white clover to spread naturally where possible. Clover returns nitrogen to the soil and provides bees with pollen containing higher protein levels than dandelions themselves. Protect the plants that help your ecosystem. Smother only the ones competing against it. Do not fight weeds, suffocate them instead. One free layer of cardboard accomplishes more than an entire year spent pulling weeds by hand. Now let us talk about patios, because patios require an entirely different weapon. Stone cracks cannot be covered with cardboard. Lawn mowing accomplishes nothing there. The answer is heat, followed by a permanent physical seal. Start with boiling water, bring a kettle to full boil, and slowly pour the water directly into every crack. At 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the heat denatures proteins inside plant cells and destroys the root crown beneath the surface. Unlike vinegar, the heat penetrates deeper than the leaves. For annual weeds, one treatment is usually enough. Deep-rooted perennial weeds normally require 2 applications, spaced roughly 2 to 3 weeks apart before they are fully exhausted. It destroys the root system itself. The process is not immediate, but the result lasts. And the cost? Absolutely nothing. There's one critical warning you cannot ignore. Boiling water causes severe burns the instant it touches skin. While treating cracks and joints, make sure children and pets stay completely away from the area. Wear closed-toe footwear, move carefully, and pour with control instead of rushing. The moment the surface cools, however, the area becomes entirely safe again for bare feet, dogs, and kids. But if you truly want weeds gone for the long term, destroying the plant is only half the job. You must close the gaps where they grow. That is where polymeric sand changes everything. This material combines sand with special polymers that harden once water activates them, creating a semi-flexible filler between patio joints. Weed seeds cannot force their way through it. Roots fail to penetrate it. Even ants struggle to tunnel underneath, which matters because those underground voids are exactly where weeds gain their foothold. A 50-pound bag usually costs somewhere between $65 and $85, and one bag covers roughly 125 square feet of joint space. A study from Lawrence University recorded 5 times greater bee abundance and 3 times more species diversity in lawns where weekly mowing was skipped. Researchers in Massachusetts also documented 93 bee species feeding on ordinary lawn flowers alone, 2 boiling water treatments, 1 layer of polymeric sand, a patio that stays clean for years without chemicals. Now bring all 3 systems together. For lawns, raise the mower height to 4 inches and leave grass clippings behind. Cost, $0. For garden beds, use free cardboard topped with 4 to 6 inches of mulch. Smother weeds instead of battling them directly. By season 1, weed pressure drops heavily. By season 2, even bindweed starts collapsing. For patio joints, use boiling water twice. Then seal the gaps with polymeric sand. Permanent. Safe for pets. Completely chemical-free. My grandmother became less active in the garden every year, yet somehow the garden itself kept improving. Ruth Stout proved it back in the 1950s. Charles Dowding has demonstrated the same reality over 40 years and across 1,300 square meters. The science behind it is straightforward. Stop fighting nature. Start working beside it. And here is the number that changes everything. The chemical route costs $30 or more every month. More than $180 disappears year after year just to repeat the same failed struggle. The lazy approach changes the math entirely. The lawn solution costs nothing. The garden beds only require mulch, and that expense usually pays itself back during the first season because weed killer purchases disappear. The patio fix costs between $65 and $85 once. Less work, less money, better results every single year. Now, the question is simple. Which battlefield are you tackling first this weekend? Are you still pulling weeds, or are you finally ready to smother them? Tell me whether you are starting with the lawn, the beds, or the patio. Try one method this weekend and watch what happens. And if somebody you know still spends every Saturday bent over ripping dandelions from the ground, send this to them. Soon, their neighbors will ask what landscaping company transformed the property, and they will smile before answering with 4 simple words: I just got lazier. If you want another effortless method to rebuild your soil while you sleep, stay tuned for the next guide. Happy gardening!